Hello students, in this lecture we will be talking about cell cycle and cell division. Okay, so I will be trying to keeping it short. In the first part we will be talking about the cell cycle, okay, and in the second part it will be cell division. So let's start. Okay, the topics to be covered today are cell cycle and division, the phases. What is cell cycle? We all know from a single parent cell, two cells are produced. Okay, this process of replicating a cell, making a whole new cell is known as cell division. Okay, after that we will be talking how this total process from a single cell to two cells, this process, whole process is carried forward. What are the steps involved? Everything. Okay. So in the second lecture we will be talking about the mitosis, the meiosis, and the significance of the process, everything. Okay. Okay. So to know first what is a cell. The cell we all know is a basic structural and functional unit of life. Every living organism, may it be a plant, may it be an animal, will have the basic unit which it is made up of, the cell. All the cells which make up the tissue system, and after that they make up the organ system. But the most important thing a living organism will carry is a cell. Okay, so cell is the basic structural and functional unit of life. All organisms are made up of cells. See, this is a plant cell and this is the animal cell. Okay, so the cells will have a wall, cell wall, the outer protective covering for the plant cell, and in case of animal cell there will be no cell wall. Okay, it will only have the cell membrane which acts as a protective layer. Also, it would have the organelles, the nucleus, which help the cell to work. All the functions of the cell are given by these organelles. Okay. Now, see, we all know, we are reading it and memorizing it from class 6, 7, cell division. Okay. So, what is cell division? Cell division is a process by which from a single parent cell two new daughter cells are produced. Okay. And it is a repetitive process. Okay. Suppose when someone is born, okay, he is very small. After few years, when you see them, they will become they will have achieve a height, they will have some growth. Why? Because their cells divide. Their cells divide and the growth is the positive sign of the cell division. Okay. So, it is a process by which parent cells divide into two daughter cells. See, from one cell, two cells are produced. Similarly, from this cell, again two new cells will be produced. Okay. From this cell also, two new cells will be produced. So, this process is known as cell division. It is responsible for wound healing. Obviously, suppose your hands get cut, just a simple cut by a knife. Okay, what happens after few time? The wounds get healed. Why? The cells get replaced by new cells because of the process of cell division. Regeneration and growth and development, I told already. The height or this fat increase because of cell division. Okay. Now, cell division. This cell division, it is very easy to say from one cell 2 cells are produced, but there is a total cycle which we will be covering in this lecture. The total cycle by which from one single cell 2 cells are produced. You can see that, refer to the diagram. See, this is the single cell, this is one cell, okay, from which 2 cells are getting produced, and the whole process is known as cell division. But the stages which it is covering is known as, the whole cycle is known as cell cycle. Okay. The sequence of events by which a cell duplicates its genome. Okay. Obviously, it will have to duplicate its genetic material, its DNA, its RNA, its organelles, everything will have to be duplicated. Okay. Other constituents of the cell and eventually divide into 2 daughter cells. Okay. So, from one cell, if 2 cells are getting produced, obviously suppose this single cell has a content of 100, but the new cells will also have the content of 100. How is it achievable? At first, it will have to double its cells, means from 100 it will have to become 200. Then only it is possible that 2 cells which are getting produced from this single cells will have 100 each. Okay. So, during the growth of a cell, the cell organelles duplicate and DNA replication takes place. So, during the growth in the cell cycle, the cell organelles also, the organelles present in the cell will double. Okay. Suppose may it be the mitochondria, may it be the Golgi body, may it be the ribosome, all things present in the parent cell will be doubled. Okay. And DNA replication will also take place. Okay. So, let us go to the next slide. Okay. So, what are the phases of the cell cycle? There are 2 phases of the cell cycle, that is, one is the interphase, which is the longest phase, and the M phase, in which the chromosomes get divided. And in the interphase, it is the phase between 2 successive M phase. See, in between the M phase, the interphase is present. M phase is the phase where actual cell division occurs. The actual cell division, okay, occurs in the mitotic phase, where the chromosomes are divided. Okay, but in the interphase, the cell just gets readied for the process of mitosis or cell division. Okay, few information is, see, a human cell divides approximately in 24 hours. It takes 24 hours for a human cell to divide, whereas for a cell of yeast, it is only 1.5 hours, means 90 minutes. Okay. Now, we will be first discussing in this lecture about the interphase, in which there are 3 phases, the G1 phase, the S phase and the G2 phase. Okay. In this phase of the cell cycle, the cell firstly grows. Why? The parent cell will have to grow to get divided in their copies of daughter cells. The daughter cells will be totally the copies of the parent cell. Okay. So, let us see, it is the most active phase of the cell cycle. Okay. The most active phase of the cell cycle. During this phase, cell growth and DNA replication occurs. So, you will have to remember that during the phase of interphase, the cell growth means, suppose there is a single cell, this is the cell, this will grow to a huge amount. Okay, suppose from this small this will become a very big structure. Okay, this is known as cell growth. And also the DNA replication will occur. Why DNA replication? DNA replication occurs so as to that the chromosomes numbers are doubled, as because from a single cell two cells will be produced. Okay, so the number will be halved. That's why the DNA is getting replicated. Okay, so the phases are, there are three phases in the interphase: the G1 phase, the S phase, and G2 phase. These are the three phases. Okay, this is the G1 where the growth occurs. In the S phase, there occurs the DNA replication. Okay, where the DNA is doubled. And in the G2 phase, the cell organelles are doubled. And in the G1 phase, growth occurs. The cell, the parent cell grows. Clear? Now we will be talking and discussing about the G1 phase. Okay. See, in the G1 phase, see, this is the parent cell. It has enlarged and the growth you can see. This is the G1 phase we will be talking about in this slide. Okay. This is the G1 phase. Okay. It is the intermediary between the G2 phase and the M phase. See, the M phase and S phase. Sorry, it is the intermediary between the S phase in which the DNA replication occurs and between the M phase, means the mitotic phase. Okay. So G1 is also known as the gap 1 phase. It is the longest phase. So the longest phase of the interphase is the gap 1 or G1 phase. It is present between mitosis and initiation of replication. This S phase is known as initiation of replication and M phase is the mitotic phase, where the chromosomes are divided. Okay. So active synthesis of RNA and proteins also take place in this phase. The cell organelles duplicate. Okay. See, the organelles, the every member and the cell also grows and duplicates in this phase. Okay. So you will have to remember all these points. Okay. Now the S phase. The S phase is a very important phase as the DNA replications occurs. It is very important for your class 12 syllabus also. The DNA replication, the whole process we will be studying in class 12. Okay. In class 11 we just have it in our S phase of the cell cycle. So what happens is, we are telling about the DNA replication. In the S phase of the interphase, the DNA molecules are doubled. That means, suppose this is a cell, it will just have a single molecule of DNA. But how will it divide and give its daughters two suppose this is only one DNA. How will it give these DNAs to both of its daughters? It is not possible. So firstly, the DNA gets replicated, means DNA gets copied, that is known as replication. Okay. And these copies are then kept for the mitotic phase, and in the mitotic phase these DNAs get divided. Okay, that we will be discussing later. See, in S phase the DNA molecules are duplicated. This occurs through the process of DNA replication. Okay, so this is the stage between the G1 growth gap 1 and gap 2. Okay, the DNA replication. Okay, it is the process of copying a DNA molecule. By the process we copy the DNA molecule. Okay, and two identical, always remember that identical, we are talking about the identical copies. In cell division, we will get identical copies of the DNA. Now see, before S phase, see there were only a few number of chromosomes were there or DNAs were there. See, only a few number of DNAs were there. Okay, before the S phase. See, only 1, 2, 3, 4. But here, after S phase, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Total 8 chromosomes are there. Whereas in here, there are only 4 chromosomes. Okay. So, that is a major difference. In this process of S phase, before S phase and after S phase, in S phase there are only 4 chromosomes, whereas in after S phase there are 8 chromosomes. So the number gets doubled. Okay, see, the chromosome number remains the same since the 2 copies of the DNA strand are still attached to each other. The chromosome number remains the same, but there are 2 copies of DNA. Okay. Okay, now the last phase, the G2 phase. What happens in G2 phase is similar to the G1 phase. Okay, gap 1 phase is present between S phase and M phase. See, it is between the S phase and the M phase, the G2 phase. Okay, so the mitochondria, the cell organelles, what I was telling previously, the mitochondria, the chloroplast, the Golgi bodies, every one of them duplicate, means doubles in number. Why? As because from one parent cell, 2 daughter cells will be produced, and these duplicated organelles will go to the respective daughter cells. Okay. See, DNA synthesis stops. What happens is the DNA synthesis stops. There is production of proteins required for actual dividing phase. We will be studying about few proteins that are associated in the mitotic phase where the chromosomes get separated. Okay. So the production of protein starts in the G2 phase, this phase, okay, which are required in the mitotic phase. Clear? By the end of the G2 phase, the cell is now ready for cell division. Okay. So what we studied in the interphase, the G1, G2 and S phase, okay, the cell is getting readied for what? The cell division. But the actual cell division occurs in the M phase or the mitotic phase. Okay. The mitotic division takes place only in diploid. This is not necessary. Okay. So this was all about the cell cycle. In the next lecture, we will be talking about how in the mitotic phase the cell division occurs. Okay. So thank you.